श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् मालासुधाकुम्भविबोधमुद्रा विद्याविराजत्करवारिजाताम् अपारकारुण्यसुधाम्बुराशिं श्रीशारदाम्बां प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् शारदा शारदाम्भोजवदना वदनाम्बुजे सर्वदा सर्वदास्माकं सन्निधिं क्रियात् वक्तारमासाद्ययमेव नित्या सरस्वती स्वार्थसमन्वितासीत् निरस्तदुस्तर्ककलङ्कपङ्का नमामि तं शङ्करमर्चिताङ्घ्रिम् शङ्कारूपेण मच्चित्तं पङ्कीकृतमभूद्यया किङ्करीयस्य सामागा शङ्कराचार्यमाश्रये प्रह्लादवरदो देवो यो नृसिंहः परो हरिः नृसिंहोपासकं नित्यं तं नृसिंहगुरुं भजे श्रीसच्चिदानन्दशिवाभिनव्यनृसिंहभारत्यभिधान्यतीन्द्रान् विद्यानिधीन् मन्त्रनिधीन् सदात्मनिष्ठान् भजे मानवशम्भुरूपान् सदात्मध्याननिरतं विषयेभ्यः पराङ्मुखं नौमि शास्त्रेषु निष्णातं चन्द्रशेखरभारतीं विवेकिनं महाप्रज्ञं धैर्यौदार्यक्षमानिधिं सदाभिनवपूर्वं तं विद्यातीर्थगुरुं भजे अज्ञानां जाह्नवीतीर्थं विद्यातीर्थं विवेकिनां सर्वेषां सुखदं तीर्थं भारतीतीर्थमाश्रये विद्याविनयसम्पन्नं वीतरागं विवेकिनं वन्दे वेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञं विदुशेखरभारतीम् ॐ. In the last few sessions, we had looked at the first 10 verses of the work Atma Bodha by Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada. And the last verse that we had looked at was Tadbhedat Bhinnavad Bhati Yathakasho Hrishikeshaha Nanopadhigato Vibhuhu Tadbhedat Bhinnavad Bhati Tannashe Kevalo Bhavet. So until now, the development of the ideas has been that Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada first talked about the requirements for Jnana Sadhana being the Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. Then he talked about why Jnana was the only means for moksha. The reason for that is that Jnana is the only thing which is capable in creation, in Ishvara's creation, to be able to remove Ajnana, and Ajnana is the cause of samsara. So therefore, if Jnana is the only means to get rid of avidya and avidya is the cause of samsara, it follows that Jnana is the only way to get moksha. And the nature of moksha is the cessation or the end of samsara. We had seen this in the first few sessions. Then we kind of talked about the, first we talked about the mithyatvam of the jagat. That is the notion that we have when we looked at the world is that it is a solid real thing. So Shankaracharya, before establishing Advaita Tattvam and through it giving us a means to moksha, first seeks to prove that this universe in which there is multiplicity, where is nanatvam, there is plurality, he first establishes that that plurality is only an apparent plurality. It is not a real plurality. And this we can see from various Shruti remarks, quotations such as Neha Nanasti Kinchana, etc. There is no multiplicity whatsoever here, says the Shruti. Sadeva Somya Idamagra Asit Ekameva Dvitiyam. There only was one entity before all this creation came. I say also in the Chandogya Upanishad we find this very famous mantra occurring in the 6th chapter. So in defining what this plurality is, he first started talking about two kinds of superimposition. He said that because we do not have a true idea of what the Atma is, what the self is, we project something else in its place. Just like we project the snake in place of the rope. And sometimes that is one example that's given in Shastra. Sometimes another example is given where sometimes we project silver where we see a shell. So there is a shell on the riverbed on the banks of the river. And then when the sunlight falls on the back of the shell, it shines so much that we think it's a silver coin. We stoop to pick it up and then we realize it's not silver. It's actually it's just a shell. And the reason why these two different examples are given is that the shell silver example is a case of pravritti, that is of raga, wherein we have develop attachment towards objects. So we are attracted to objects of the world because we don't know that those objects are unreal. So that's an example given for raga, and the rope and the snake example is given in Advaita Shastra as an example for dvesha, wherein we get scared and we are afraid and we run away from it. We don't like certain things. Both objects of like and objects of dislike, Shastra is telling us is not real. It is merely an unreal projection. And the reason why we have this unreal projection is because we do not know the underlying entity. So if we knew what our true nature was, Shastra is telling us, you will not think that there is a real world out there. You will not consider that this physical body, this mind, etc., that we consider to be real, we will not think it is real if we knew what the underlying reality was. And so the question that arises in this case is then it means that plurality is unreal. That is what the Advaitin is saying. So a question may arise, if plurality is unreal, why does it appear real? How is it possible that one thing can appear like many? And this is where we had left in the last session, which was this verse number 10. And so what Acharya is saying is that just like one space, because of some notional association with the container, we kind of bifurcate that into many spaces. So we divide that one indivisible space into room space, pot space, hall space, park space, so on and so forth. Whereas it's actually none of these containers are capable in reality to confine space, to divide space. So we notionally create these ideas of multiplicity, even though the underlying object is one. So using this example of space, what Acharya establishes that it is possible for one entity to be mistakenly perceived to be many. So just like one space is notionally divided into many spaces, the one Brahman appears in various different forms as different jivas, as the Jagat itself. But in reality, consciousness or Brahman is not confined, not restricted to, not limited by any of these upadhis or containers. This physical body, this mind is a container. In reality, what we do is we take the container to be real and we forget the underlying consciousness which because of which we see these containers. So we say that I am different, you are different, etc. Which is why in Adi Shankara Bhagavad Padas in the Moha Mudgaram, or also known as Bhajagovindam, he asks, Tvai chanya traiko Vishnuhu vyartham kupyasi mai asahishnuhu. He says, the consciousness that is in you is the same as the consciousness in me. Then why in vain are you shouting at me and getting angry with me? In reality, who is getting angry with whom? There is only one entity. Notionally we think that I am different from you, you are different from me, this world is different from me, I want these things, I don't want these things, I like him, I don't like him. All these are erroneous notions that have sprung forth because of the one fundamental problem: I do not know who I am in reality. I do not know that I am not this physical body, I am not this mind, I am not this finite jiva. I am the all pervading eternal consciousness, and everything is an appearance in me. I am not a small participant in this world. This world, this physical body, is merely a notional appearance in me, the consciousness. This much we had seen. So there were two kinds of adhyasa or superimposition or projection, the macro projection of this universe and the micro projection of the physical body. This we had seen in verses 8 and 9. And now we will take up the next verse. This is verse number 11. नानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्तो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत्. Okay. Now here we had in the previous verse we had talked about how this physical body is a projection upon the self. So we had talked about the micro adhyasa, the vyashti adhyasa. Now, Acharya in this particular verse is expanding that idea into not just the superimposition of the physical body, but he's also talking about various attributes that we then superimpose on that. So that one agyanam leads us to project this universe on this physical body, and then that physical body we start projecting attributes upon it. And for example, we talk about I belong to so and so jati. I have this so and so name. I belong to this particular ashrama. All of these are because of what? It's because of nanopadhi vashat. It is because of these different kinds of bodies, different kinds of containers, that we say that I am this particular thing. So here by jati, you can take the brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra jati. You can take that as one thing. Now the question then becomes is, why do we have varna? Now the jati and varna are essentially the same, isn't it? So why do we have jati and then varna? For that, Acharya essentially, we can take one meaning for that. Varnyate anena iti varnaha, meaning various features, attributes like height, weight, age, etc., can be taken up as varna. So here, what we are doing is jati we are taking to be the Brahmana Kshatriya jati, and varna we are taking to be the attributes such as age, weight, etc. Now, we can take another way also. We can take Varna to be the Brahmana Kshatriya Jati, because when we talk about Varnashrama Dharma, etc., there the Varna is referring to what? The same fourfold classifications as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya. And similarly, when we talk of Jati, also we talk about those things. So, why is Shankaracharya using Jati and Varna? We are trying to understand what the distinction here is. So, if we fix Jati to be the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Jati, the Varna will be the attributes. If we fix the Varna to be the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Jati, you can take the word Jati there to be like Manushyatva Jati, like I am a human being. In that human being, I am a I belong to the Brahmana jati, Kshatriya jati, Vaishya jati, Shudra jati, etc. Then what else? Adayaha. Then I take on more attributes. I belong to this kula. This is my gotram. All of these are what? They are simply projections because of the one fundamental problem. The because of the nanopadhi vashat, it is because of the unreal projected bodies, which are temporary enclosures for the Atma. We further do superimpositions of jati, varna, ashrama, etc. Because of that, one has so many superiority, inferiority complex. I belong to this jati. This is my kulam, and this is my background. I have so much wealth. I have this is what my family. Our family used to be the kings of this particular raja in the past. All of that is what all these superiority, inferiority complexes. Oh no, I am struggling. I do not have opportunities. I do not think that I'm capable of doing these things. All of that are what is because of the superimpositions that society has made, which we have adopted and that's taken as well. Now, we are not saying that the Vaidika karma, which is divided into the different varnas, is incorrect. No, we are not talking about the correctness or the incorrectness of the karma. What we are saying is, so long as one is within the grip of avidya, and one seeks improvement of one's own self, then one must follow the Vaidika Karma Marga. We must follow the various scriptural injunctions that have been led. So the Rajasuya Yaga must be conducted only by a Kshatriya. A Vaishya cannot do this, or a Shudra cannot do this, or a Brahmana cannot do this. Certain yagas must be done only by Brahmana. Certain yagas must only be done by the Vaishyas. Certain positions, like certain roles in a yaga, must only be done by Shudras, by the Nishadas, for example. So you cannot take up somebody else's role for yourself. But in what context are we talking? We are talking in the context of karma. So when performing the karma, one must necessarily follow the scriptural injunctions. However, when we are talking about giving up the karma and focusing on what? Because one has changed one's focus from the dharmartha kamaha, that is the dharma, artha being wealth, kama being desires, etc. One seeks to go for a higher objective, moksha. One has given up on the desires for material pursuits. So when one is in the when it's performing jnana sadhana, at that point in time, then we are talking about the reality and the unreality of these superimpositions. So we are saying that we are not saying that the Veda is incorrect in prescribing duties. Not at all. Who are we to claim what the Veda should and should not do? It is from the Veda that we get this jnana sadhana also. So we are not saying that what the Veda is saying is incorrect. Even though Dvaitins and Vishishtadvaitins, etc., say, oh, with Advaita, the entire Karma Kanda has been negated. Not at all. That is not at all true. We are saying that the Karma Kanda must be followed by the Adhikari of the Karma Kanda. Jnana Kanda must be followed by the Adhikari of the Jnana Kanda. You cannot expect the sannyasi to take up the Grihastha's karma. Similarly, why do you expect one who is in a Jnana Kandi to take a Karma Kandi's karma? So therefore, each particular ashrama, each particular varna has its own duties. The duty of the sannyasi, the duty of the one who is engaged in jnana sadhana is in the jnana sadhana. One must not confuse the ultimate reality with an invalidation of a Vyavaharika Satyam. There is both scope for Vyavaharika Satyam, that is the performance of this karma, the apparent reality of the world, transactional correctness. We are not negating any of that. What we are saying is there is an underlying reality which is beyond that. And that is what one must seek, one must try to understand. And from that perspective, we say, yes, this Jagat is Mithya. But until you come to that reality, you have to transact with the world. You have to follow the rules of society. Therefore, there is scope both for Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda in Advaita Vedanta. So, so essentially, what Shankaracharya is saying, he's saying, Nanupadhi Vashadeva Jati Varnashramadaya. There is another reading. Instead of saying Jati Varnashramadaya, there is Jati Namashramadaya also. So that is becomes simpler. When you say Jati Namashramadaya, essentially we are referring to Jati being Jati, the Brahmana, Kshatriya Jati, etc. Nama being various names, and Ashrama, etc. being the Ashrama itself. So, what are these? They are Atmani Aropitaha. Atmani Aropitaha. They are false superimpositions on the Atma. And then, as ever, he gives a very good example to show this. He says, Toye Rasavarnadi Bhedavate. So, toya means water. So, in the water is what? It's a crystal clear. There is no particular taste for water, etc. Right? In that water, sometimes we see a particular color. Sometimes there is a taste in the water. Now, the property of color and taste does not actually belong to the water, but to various impurities or various fragrance things that have been added to the water. So they are not the property of the water, but they are the property of the upadhi that has been added to the water. Similarly, when we are talking about jati, varna, etc., they are not property of Atma, they are property of the upadhi, the body upadhi. So one must not say that the Atma has these attributes. They are all attributes belonging to the upadhi. Atma is untouched by these attributes. So, and the reason for that is we are transferring the attributes of the thing mixed in water and say, oh, this water is yellow in color. This water it tastes sweet, or this water is some red in color, or whatever. If you mix kumkumam to it, it will become red in color. Does that mean that the water is red? No, it is because of the mixing up of the kumkumam. Similarly, the Atma does not have any of these attributes such as Jati, Varna, Ashrama, Nama, Rupa, etc. But we mix up the properties that belong to the attribute. We mix it up with the Atma. So if you look at the Kathopanishad, what does the Kathopanishad say? It says Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Avyayam, Tatharasam, Nityam, Agandhavachayate, Anadyanantam Mahatah Param Dhruvam, Nichagatam, Mrityamukat Pramuchate. So it's Ashabdam. It is there is no sound in it. Asparsham, one cannot touch it. Arupam, it does not have any form. It is colorless. Avyayam, it is intangible. It is unmanifest. One cannot see it. Arasam, there is no taste to it. So there are so many Upanishadic statements, and this being a particular example of the Kathopanishad, wherein the true nature of the Atma has been revealed as Nirgunam. Atma is attributeless, but the attributes of the Upadhi are mistakenly superimposed upon the Atma. So this is what Acharya says in his Adhyasa Bhashyam also. He says what? Um, युष्मदस्मत् प्रत्ययगोचरयोः विषय-विषयिणोः तमः प्रकाशवद्विरुद्धस्वभावयोः इतरेतर भावानुपपत्तौ सिद्धायां तद्धर्माणां च सुतराम् इतरेतर भावानुपपत्तिः. When you and I are the attributes of subject and the object are so different. The subject can never be the object can never be the subject. Despite that, what do? We mistake the subject for the object, and we mistake the attributes of the object for the attributes of the subject. So when I say I am a human being, what am I doing? I am taking the attribute of manushyattvam, which is a present in the body. When I say I am a human being, what do we mean? We mean the body is a human body. We say, but what do? We mistake that and we say I am the human. Humanity doesn't belong to you. Humanity belongs to the body. So we need to understand that. So the previous verse talked about the micro projection of the body. Now we are talking about a subtle element. It's the projection of the attributes upon the body upon the self. Now, therefore, what are we saying? We are saying that we are not denigrating Varnashrama Vyavastha. We are not saying Karmakanda is irrelevant. What we are saying is you have to you can assume these Varnashrama identities for what? For transactional purpose. So carry on your transactions. However, know the reality. Know that you, the Brahman, is not this physical body. The attributes of the mind are not your attributes. But let us do with the knowledge that they are not the identity of our true nature. They are superimpositions that we have willingly adopted for a transactional purpose. So when we, for example, when we worship the Saligramam as Mahavishnu, we know that Mahavishnu is Paramatma, is Ishvara, and we know that Saligramam is a piece of stone. But what do? We knowingly superimpose Mahavishnu on that stone and worship that stone. So we are not worshipping a stone. So when people say, oh, the Sanatana Dharma followers are like idol worshippers, they do not understand what we are doing. Of course, we know that the stone is not Ishvara. What we are saying is the Ishvara who is everywhere is also in the stone, and I am worshipping that Ishvara. Because most people are not able to perceive the reality that it is the one all-pervading consciousness, Ishvara, who is everywhere. One is not able to see Ishvara in that form. So what do? We deliberately superimpose that Ishvara onto a particular vigraha and do archana of the vigraha, puja of that vigraha. We are not worshipping a stone. We are worshipping the Ishvara Tattvam that we have superimposed on the stone. Similarly, let us realize when we are transacting, we can transact, we can assume I am so and so, I belong to this family, I am a human, I'm doing all these things. You can do all that, but know that it is only an assumed identity that we have taken up for a transactional purpose. It is not who we really are. So thus far we have looked at the projection of the attributes upon oneself. Now the next three verses, verses 12, 13, and 14, we will go into further details about the projection, the micro projections. So for the first time, we will start talking about the three shariras. Now in Advaita Vedanta, the body, when we say this physical body or the Atma, which is underlying the physical body, there are the body itself is divided into three components. So one is called the Sthula Sharira. The Sthula Sharira is this gross physical body. Now within that Sthula Sharira is the Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body. And within the subtle body, and what is the subtle body? That is the mind and the prana. We will come to the details of that in the next few verses. And even subtler than the Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body is the Karana Sharira or the causal body. So, what is the nature of the Stula Sharira? What is the nature of the Sukshma Sharira? What is the nature of the Karana Sharira? Is the subject matter of the next three verses, verses 12, 13, and 14. And we will read that next. So, let's go to verse number 12. पंचीकृत महाभूत संभवं कर्म संचितम शरीरं सुख दुःखानां भोगायतनमुच्यते. So, as I said, this body is divided into three layers in Shastra. the Sthula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, and the Karana Sharira. So first, this verse number 12, is talking about this Sthula Sharira. So what are the features of this Sthula Sharira? Let us look at it sequentially. Now, this physical body is very much visible. We can see this physical body, not only us, all others also can see. So we can see others' bodies and others can see our body also. So it is visible, it is tangible, it is physical. And then what is it made of? It is made of the Pancha Mahabhutam, the five gross elements. So these are called Panchikrita Bhutani. The five elements are space, Akasha, air, Vayu, fire, Agni, water, Apaha, earth or Prithvi. So in the Taittiriya Upanishad, we say there's a mantra. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, there is this mantra which is from the Atma comes the Akasha first. From the Akasha comes Vayu. From the Vayu comes Agni. From the Agni comes Apaha. From the Apaha comes Prithvi. So that is the sequence. So from the consciousness, what kind of consciousness? Consciousness endowed with Maya comes the manifestation of these five physical five elements. Now, these five elements undergo a process known as Panchikaranam. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Panchikaranam. And essentially, what the process of Panchikaranam is the grossification of the subtle elements. So, what the Taittiriya Upanishad mantra is talking about is essentially the creation of the subtle elements. So, each of these elements, five elements, are subtle. Now, these elements themselves combine with each other to become the gross elements. And these gross elements are the ones that are amenable to direct perception. We can perceive these things through the process of Panchikaranam. So what is this Panchikaranam? Let's quickly see. I want to show a little graphic that some Mahanubhava created, and I'm very thankful for him. And they have said that you can use it as a study thing. So you can see, so the first line are what are known as tanmatras or the subtle elements. So space, Akasha, air, Vayu, fire, Agni, water, Apaha, earth, Prithvi. Now, each of these elements divide themselves into two. So you see that in the second row. So the space divides into two, air divides into two, fire divides into two, water divides into two, earth divides into two. Then one half of each element remains intact and the other half splits into four elements. So the one half of the four of the space becomes this half is divided into four space. So each of this is what? 1/8 space, 1/8 air, 1/8 fire, 1/8 water, 1/8 earth, and the other half remains. Now each so then comes the process. And this is where the Panchikaranam actually happens. A gross space is formed by one half space and then 1/8 of each of air, fire, water, and earth. So one of this comes here. One of the air comes. 1/8 of the air comes and joins space. 1/8 of the fire comes and joins space. 1/8 of the water comes and joins space. So 1/8 of the earth comes and joins space. So 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 is one half. That plus another one half is one full. So it's a little bit complicated, but this is the process of Panchikaranam or the grossification of elements. So in the gross space, there is the mixture of all five elements. In the gross air, there is a mixture of all five elements. In the gross fire, so on and so forth. So each gross element comprises of all five elements, but the pradhana element will be, so for example, gross space, the pradhana element will be space. So one half of that will be the subtle space, and then 1/8 will come from each of the other four elements. And because there are five parts to this, half of the main element and 1/8 of the other elements, it's called Panchikaranam. This is the grossification process. So none of space, air, fire, water, and earth, the subtle elements, are actually visible. But once this Panchikaranam happens, they become perceptible. So you can hear the Shabdam, which is the attribute of space. Now with air, you can hear the Shabdam and you can feel the air also. So there is air has what? The Shabda guna of the Akasha, and it has the Sparsha guna of itself. So the new element, the new attribute that comes in physical air is the Sparsha guna. Then fire has both the Shabda of Akasha, the Sparsha of air, and then the Rupa of fire. One can see fire. So it has three things. One can see fire. When it touches it is very hot. One can hear fire burning. So when the fire is burning, you can hear it, right? So the fire has these three gunas. Then water, it has the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa of its parents, of its forefathers, and then it has its new attribute of itself. The attribute is rasa or taste. So the taste of water, you cannot taste fire or air or space, but water has the unique attribute of rasa, which is not there in its forefathers. And then finally, earth has all the four attributes of its forefathers: Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and then it has its own unique attribute, Gandha. So, so the attribute of smell comes to earth. It is not there in the previous things. So this is the process of Panchikaranam that happens, that is given in Shastra. So what Shankaracharya, so let me stop the screen sharing here and we'll go back to the verse. So what Shankaracharya is saying is that the physical body is made up of this Panchikrita Mahabhutam. So it is Panchikritam, so it is the grossified elements, and it's called Mahabhutam because every single physical tangible thing in this universe, from the physical body to the galaxy, is comprised of the same combination of these five gross elements. No, comprised of the same five elements in different combinations, not the same combination. The same five elements are present in every single physical, tangible, perceptible object that comprises this world, and so it's called Mahabhutam. Now, what other attributes are there? It is subject to modification. So if you take this physical body itself, this physical body, we have the pratyaksha experience, direct experience of the changes that are observable in this physical body. From the embryo, it modifies into a child. From a child, it grows up to an adult. Then it goes to old age, to death. So the Shadvida Bhava Vikaraha Asti, there is something that is present there, right? In the physical womb, what it is, it's Asti. Then Jayate, then the birth happens. Then Vardhate, growth happens as the child. Viparinimate, then there is change that happens. So in the middle age, what happens? There are lots of changes that are going on in the physical body. Then apakshiyate, once you go into the old age, that body starts losing its faculties. It starts losing its physical energy, the power. There are more pains, etc. as we go approach old age. The hair starts falling off, the teeth start falling off, all of that apakshiyate, which means decay, that starts happening. And then finally the physical body vinashyati, the physical body, like it dies at the end. So it is shadvida bhava vikaraha, all the sixfold modification: asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinimate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. All these sixfold modifications are present in the physical body. Now, compared to the three bodies, so there are three bodies. Amongst the three bodies, the Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and the Karana Sharira, the Sthula Sharira has the shortest life, meaning that the lifespan of the physical body is the lifespan of one Janma. So one cannot retain this body beyond the Janma. One cannot be like, that's why when Trishankur tried to take it to heaven, he could not do that. So in the next Janma, this physical body cannot be retained. So it has the shortest lifespan. And we will come to the rest of this in the subsequent verses. Now, it is also just a temporary abode for the Jivatma. Now, we cannot claim ownership of this physical body. What are we? We are merely tenants of this physical body. We are renting this physical body from whom? From Ishvara. The Ishvara is the owner of the physical body. We are merely occupying it. And what is the rent that we have paid? It is a rent that we have paid in advance before taking the body itself. We have paid the rent. What is that? It is the karma. So we have conducted lots of karmas, both Vaidika karma, Avaidika karma also. We have done so many things because of which we have got this physical body. So Ishvara takes some portion of the Sanchita karma, makes that into prarabdha karma, and then gives this physical body. So we have paid the rent for this physical body in advance, and once the occupation, once we have completed the lease period, we have to vacate the physical body. So we are not the owner of this. The rent that we have paid for this is all the punya papa karma that we have performed, which has fructified to give this physical body, which we occupy it for a temporary, for a period of time. So it's a temporary abode. So what did we see? We see we said the physical body is tangible, it is visible, it is physical. It is made up of the five panchikrita mahabhutam, five gross elements. It is subject to modification. Compared to the three bodies, the physical body has the shortest lifespan, and it is only a temporary abode for the Jivatma. It has been given to us because of the Purva Janma Punya Papa that we have done. Not just the immediate Purva Janma, but all the beginningless Janmas that we have had. We have done some Punya Papa that has led to this physical body coming. Now, so this is what we have in general what Shankaracharya is talking about. So let's look at the verse. He says Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam. So this physical body is the product of the five gross elements, the Panchikrita Mahabhutas, and then it is Karma Sanchitam. It is Ishvara, who is the Karma Phaladata, has blessed us with a physical body as a result of karmas that have been performed by the jiva in previous births. So if the jiva performs a predominance of punya karma, he gets a utkrishta sharira, like a deva sharira. And then if he performs a predominance of papa karma, he will get a nikrishta sharira, he'll get an inferior body. It can either be in hell, or it can be some animals or insect life form, something. And then when it's a mixture of punya and papa, he gets the manusha sharira. So it's a combination of both punya papa that we get this manusha sharira. Within that manusha sharira janma also, the particular circumstances, whether we are born to in a happy family, whether we are well off, whether we are physically strong, whether all those things are because of the particular punya papa that we have done in the previous birth. So, and the importance of this, by saying karma sanchitam, there's an important idea that Shankaracharya is conveying here. What he is saying is that this physical body has been earned by karma. So, whatever the state of the body is, whatever the nature of the body is, who is responsible for it? It is not, we cannot say it is fate or destiny. It is we ourselves are responsible for this. We have done the karma, so we get this sharira. The circumstances that we face are the results of our action, and Ishvara, who is the karma phaladata, he will not make any mistake in the calculations. He will give us exactly what we deserve. Now, therefore, the implied message of Sanatana Dharma and Shankaracharya is do not rest easy or say it is all up to fate. Use your free will to perform punya karma until the last breath. Perform punya karma so that you have a good shariram. That is, we are talking about people who are trapped in samsaras like us. However, there are certain jnanis who, for them, this is irrelevant because there is no karma for them. We will come to why that is the case a little bit later. So, what is the nature of this thula shariram? He says he uses the word shariram. Now, the word shariram, the root word of that is shri dhatu. So, essentially, shiryamana swabhav. It is subject to constant modification. It is something which is perishable. The root shri means it is subject to affliction, and that is something that we know. So with that word, Shankaracharya is hinting at the fact that this is subject to modification, constant modification, and then he uses the word bhogayatanam. It is ayatanam. What is ayatanam? Ayatanam means abode. This is a temporary abode for what? Bhoga, for experience. So this physical body has been given to us as a result of karma. And once this physical body has been taken up, we use the physical body. Through it, we experience the world. It is only when we have a body that experience is possible. Now, if you look at the three states, the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state, it is only in the waking and the dream states that experience happens. And what is common to those two states? The physical body. There is some physical body in the waking state, and in the dream state, there is a dream body. So there is a body present in both states. So whenever there is a body present, whenever we reside in the body, so to speak, it is only then that experience happens. And in deep sleep state, when we are not even aware of the body, there is not even the thought of I, that experience doesn't happen. So whether it is in deep sleep state or nirvikalpa samadhi, when the connection with the body is snapped, experience ceases. So Acharya is saying this sharira that you have is the bhogayatanam. It is the abode of experience. It is the medium through which we are experiencing. And what is that experience? It is simply the exhaustion of punya karma and papa karma. Whatever circumstances that we are facing is a result of the punya and papa that we have performed. And how we react to those circumstances, we have control over. What those circumstances are, we don't have control over in this birth. But by performing good karma in this birth, the circumstances that we will get in the next birth will be favorable or unfavorable, depending on the kind of karma that we perform. So the physical body, it's the bhogayatanam, it is an abode for the exhaustion of the punya and papa karma. And what are the and so he indicates that by saying sukha dukkhanam bhogayatanam. Sukha means happy experience, dukkha means unhappy experience. How do we get sukha? Because of the performance, prior performance of punya karma. So if you do punya, if you do karma which is favorable, which is prescribed in the shastra, which is done with the right attitude, then we will get punya. Similarly, the punya the karma that is done against the shastra's wishes, by doing something which is nishiddham, which is prohibited in the shastra, we will earn papa. So by doing punya karma, we will get sukha phalam. By doing papa karma, we'll get dukkha phalam. However, all of these are within the realm of avidya or ignorance. So long as we identify with the physical body, so long as we have this notion of doership, as long as there is kartrutvam, we think that I am doing these things. Shastra is telling you, bhoktrutvam will automatically follow. You will experience. If you think I am responsible for doing this, then the result of that action will also, you will have to face. Therefore, what is the corollary? If you do not want to face the experience of samsara, the notion of kartrutvam must be given up. The notion of ego, I am doing this, must be given up. We will look at that and the other two bodies, the Sukshma and the Karana Shariras, in the subsequent sessions. Namaste. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Sri Venkatraghavanji. That was a very interesting and enlightening lecture. We learned about Panchikaranam, which is very important to understand the universe, how it came about, how the elements came about. And the Panchikaranam in our body also, which gives us an idea of whatever is in the macro is also in the micro. It gives us an idea. And then we understood about how this body came about. It came about through our own past karmas. And how long will we remain in this body? We will remain in this body so long as we think that we are the doers. So long as bhoktrutvam and kartrutvam is there, we will continue to be in this bondage. A lot of aspects that we should all think, ponder over, and revise. I think we should listen to this lecture again so that it goes into us. Thank you so much.